Out of my truck here. Okay, so I'll go over what I was going over before. Architectural sheet metal 101. It says in the title, a career for life. I'll tell you, it's never let me down. I've always had a roof over my head and food on my plate, and but in my experience in this trade, it's a craft, and it can be, I mean, it's a very steep learning curve, very long learning curve, and there's a lot to be learned. And my personal experience has been very good. I mean, it's not easy. There's there's weather to deal with, and wind and rain, but it has always provided for me. And I make, especially now, I mean, I decided to get into business myself. It has, I mean, I've been able to build a business around it. I've been able to provide for my family, and my wife and we run this business, and provide others with a form of income for their families. And it's really, I mean, architectural sheet metal is always going to be in demand. So there's never, if anything, the demand is just going to continue to rise. The problem is that a lack of skilled trade, a lack of skill, a lack of supply of skill to meet the demand of the architectural sheet metal industry. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys, going the manufacturer's route because they see the demand, and they see the need for the materials. But I mean, as a manufacturer, it's easier. No, I'm not. I don't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I have never been a manufacturer, but I've seen installation companies go to manufacturing because it is more lucrative and because it's easier to make money. Mainly because there's less variables, right? In the installation side of things, running a business profitably and keeping it going is a lot more difficult because there are a lot more variables. But that's getting aside from the fact. The fact is that being on the installation side will always require a skilled trade need, where so the need is growing. The supply of skilled labor to meet that need is getting less. So there's this large gap being created, and it's up to us to fill that gap. I mean, the government's not going to do it. The manufacturers doesn't really have any interest in doing it, although they should, because without us, they don't sell anything. But I mean, really, ultimately, it is up to us, because we're the only ones who can train the ones to fill that gap. So it's kind of like passing the torch. But even as it doesn't have to be on our way out, we can start building the next generation of architectural sheet metal workers now, and not be afraid to pass on that knowledge. Because if you're worried about competition, people stealing your job, honestly, guys, if you're just showing up to work and doing a good job in the architectural sheet metal industry, you will have a job. There is no shortage, right? Like, take me for example in my business. If I had, say, jeez, okay, close. How do I turn that down? Okay, well, you might hear notifications go off. There is a need for that. So, like I was saying, if you had two skilled guys show up at your door as a business owner, I know you would agree with me that You would take them in, as long as they fit with the company. I mean, fit and ethics and all that stuff do come first before the skill. But say everything works out, everything pans out, like that guy becomes so, um, I mean, you're just gonna feed him work. Like it's just, it's gonna help grow the business. It's gonna help for new opportunities within the business and so on. So, um, the need is, or sorry, the demand or the need is not being met, and the gap is increasing. So that's kind of, so the employee perspective is, or sorry, the employer perspective is that. And a little bit of my backstory is that, as sorry, there might be more notifications coming in. A little bit of my story. We've been in the business, my wife and I, now for 8 years in the sheet metal, architectural sheet metal industry. And never ever had a shortage of work, but we have noticed the, the lack in skill. So we get the employer side. I want to relate to you guys on, because I know there's some employees that watch this stuff who are on the employee, and I have also been an employee, and I do understand what it's like out there, and what it's like to work for good people, what it's like to work for, not the greatest employers. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. I'm not here to badmouth anybody. What I am here to do is to relate with you guys and say to you that, as an employee for a while, quite a while, I'd say 4 or 5 years, oh, probably longer than that. Oh, probably closer to 8 years. Yeah, 8 years, that would work out. 6 or 8 years. Anyway, I can't remember. I can't do the math right now, but I was out there, grinding, and I know what the grind's like. And it helps when, there's, it helps. So where I started, right, coping metal, there was a company I was working for. They did just coping metal for a bunch of flat roofing companies, multiple flat roofing companies. So it's all we did was run coping, run parapet wall capping all day, every day. We bent it up in the shop. We S-locked everything, and we loaded the roofs ourselves, and we smashed those caps on, hook, strip, everything. And I mean, I had a great teacher, right? But that's all it was. It was coping metal, and I wanted something more. I needed to progress in my career. So I ended up, there was an opportunity that came to my door. I took it. It was in the union. I ended up at a copperworks company. And so for you employees out there, and the reason behind Architectural Sheet Metal 101 is to, open your eyes to new possibilities. As an employee, I remember, oh, is this all there is to coping metal, or sorry, to sheet metal work? Coping, is this all there is to it? And then once I was given that opportunity, when I walked into that copperworks company, I remember walking in there just blown away, right? I remember the feeling, like it was yesterday. I was just walking in there going, oh my God. Like I walked through the door, there was like a gargoyle, ornamental fixture on the wall of a gargoyle, like, ready to bite my head off right now. I'm like, oh my God, like how is this even possible? It was all copper, so it's really soft and malleable, and easy to stamp. But, how is this even possible with sheet metal? And then as I walked further, they were kind of giving me the tour a little bit, and I'm looking at all these cornice pieces, beautiful ornamental cornice work, with the dentals on it, and the jigs holding it up, soldering. And I just remember looking at that going, oh my God, like this is it. I can't, I mean, you're going to teach me how to do this stuff? And they said, well, yeah, but go over there and grab that broom and start cleaning that up, right? But eventually I worked my way through. I got my journeyman's ticket, and I was running smaller jobs for them. And but anyways, it was getting a little bit too much out of town work, so I had to leave. But because I wanted to settle down and start my family. But I'll tell you, just being exposed like that solidified my career choice, right? It did start out as a job, right? I needed full-time money. I wanted things. I wanted a car, but I never grew up saying, oh, I want to be a sheet metal worker, right? So I guess what my point is that without the exposure to new things, I'm not sure I would still have, I'm not sure if I would have remained in the sheet metal industry. And or in as being a sheet metal worker, I may have gone on to do different things, but because of that day and that exposure to new things, it was like a light at the end of the tunnel, kind of like, wow, this is a legitimate thing. There's a legitimate craftsmanship to this stuff, and it was the allure of that, it was the attraction of all that that really solidified my career choice, like I was saying. So keeping that exposure in mind, and filling my cup, so to speak, take that kind of perspective now into architectural sheet metal 101. That large skill gap, that demand gap that I was talking about. In order for us to attract new blood, we need to kind of show all the cards, right? Like, here's everything that you can do, and it's a legitimate trade. So you as somebody looking to get into the trades, this is a good one, not only because it's going to provide full-time work it'll fill your boots for the rest of your days, but there's different parts, and you can excel in different areas. You can there's mechanical, you can go be an HVAC worker, but that's mechanical sheet metal. It's completely different from architectural sheet metal, and they actually have it's more of a wash, I wouldn't say a washed up trade, but they definitely can service their demand better than we can, because of, sorry, getting off track here, but it is a good comparison. Architectural sheet metal work versus mechanical sheet metal work. It's a good comparison, because if you look at mechanical sheet metal workers, HVAC guys, they get into gas and everything. If you look at those guys, they have, a lot of, all the education that's out there on sheet metal right now is based, in North America, is based on HVAC, ductwork, fittings, and, OG offsets, and Pittsburgh locks. And sorry, I'm just trying to qualify myself. I did go to school for that stuff: duct design, CFM, FBM. So heat loss formulas, all that stuff. So it's not something that I've excelled in, right? But I was exposed to it because it's really the only education out there, even for an architectural sheet metal worker. But they have a better opportunity to service their demand than we do, because of the education they have and the standards that they have to follow, right? And they get a lot more interest, say from just a guy walking in wanting to pick a trade. They get a lot more interest in what they do, because there's an actual Red Seal registered trade based on it. They see it as a career, and as a trade, and I think a lot of guys look at like sheet metal, architectural sheet metal, so roofing, exterior cladding, and so on, as less than, because it isn't really a qualified registered trade. Um, there is no qualified architectural sheet metal resale trade in North America. And well, in BC they're doing it. There's a 3-year apprenticeship program for architectural sheet metal worker. They have a great facility over there. We've been there. My wife was there. She met with some of the people. They're very nice, very open to sharing some of the stuff they have. So anyways, is this still going? Yeah, we're at about 15 minutes. Okay, but yeah, I just wanted you guys to hear me out as to, you know, why I started Architectural Sheet Metal 101 was to, you know, really bridge that gap and expose to you some of the things that are a part of the architectural sheet metal, the architectural sheet metal worker trade. So I think the guys are close. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll see you in the next videos.